All right, good morning, guys. Guys should just finish up your do now. In your own words, explain and provide examples of tax deductions. So, if you guys remember watching the previous lesson, tax deductions, I believe, is the last vocab term we discussed. And these are things we talked about that, okay, the amounts of money that you're allowed to subtract from the total amount of money you made on your tax, or the amount of money you made every year. So, once again, if you made $10,000, but you donated $500 to charity throughout the course of the year, you only have to basically tell the government that, hey, I made $9,500. And so you only pay taxes on that $9,500 as opposed to paying taxes on that $10,000 amount. And so if you start doing the math, it actually ends up saving you money in the long run. And this is a lot of the reason, this is why people do it. It's how people can get away with paying less money in taxes when they have these sorts of things. All right, so we're going to move on today's lesson. There's only a couple things we're going to be discussing today, but it's really going to branch off what we discussed so far. It's going to kind of transition us into the next kind of stage of thinking. So, first thing we're going to discuss today is something called mandatory spending. So, actually, just taking a half step back for a second. So, we've talked about taxes a little bit. We've talked about, okay, people filing their taxes and how to do it. Now we're going to transition into, okay, once we've paid the taxes, once we've paid that money, what does the government do with it? What do they spend it on? And so that's what we're going to kind of be discussing today. So we have a couple different types of spending we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, okay, if they're going to spend money on this, they have to spend money on this, maybe they don't have to spend money on this. So mandatory spending, quite simply put, is money that the government must spend. So you have a couple different categories in this, and this is not all inclusive, but just a few to give you an idea what I'm talking about. So, mandatory spending. Money that the government must spend. Like certain categories that no matter what happens, we always have to spend money on these things. Things like defense, for example. So defense can include everything from military, soldiers, Army, Navy, whatever it may be. We can also allocate to, okay, if I'm talking about a city level, this is talking about like the police force, things like that. And then we also have education. So no matter what happens every single year, no matter what we spend money on, we have to spend some kind of money on education. We have to put money towards that. And so going back to this word mandatory, if you guys have heard it before, know what it means. If it's mandatory, it's a must. You don't get a choice. You have to do it. Like if I have a mandatory meeting, I have to attend the meeting. I don't get a choice. So we have mandatory spending, and then we have the opposite, something known as discretionary spending. So discretionary spending. Spending, that's an N, not an H. Spending, which lawmakers are free to make choices. That's what it should be, in which, excuse the terrible grammar. So, mandatory spending, then discretionary spending, or it's at my discretion, meaning, it's kind of my call. It's my determination. I get to make it, okay, we're going to spend it or we're not going to spend it. So discretionary spending, spending in which lawmakers are free to make certain choices. So, like I said, there's mandatory things that no matter what we have to do, then there's discretionary. So this comes down to, hey, should we spend money on building new national parks? Should we spend money on fixing the national highway system, whatever it may be? So things that they're so important, but at the end of the day, the world's not going to end if we don't spend money in these areas, or if we spend less, or if we spend more. We're kind of we're leaving it up to our best judgment and kind of hopefully what the people want this year. So mandatory spending, discretionary spending, and then we have something known as entitlements. Entitlements are social welfare programs that people benefit from if they are eligible. So this actually covers a wide variety of things. So some of the stuff you may have heard of, maybe you had before. So this includes things like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps. Basically, hey, if you meet these criteria, if you qualify for these certain things, hey, we're basically, the government's essentially going to help you in some way. So whether it be things dealing with income, whether it be things dealing with age, whatnot, as long as you qualify and you fill out the paperwork, whatever route you have to take, you're essentially, it's saying, hey, you're entitled to this help. You're entitled to receive this benefit or whatever it may be. And so, like I said, the ones I listed, there's a lot more than that, but those are some of the main ones people talk about. So down at the bottom, you guys see a YouTube clip or a link for a clip. It's about, if I remember right, I think it's only a few minutes long. So just take a minute, watch it, and then at the end, you guys have an exit slip question on it in just a second. If you haven't quite got all the notes copied out, I'll step aside for a second, go ahead and hit pause and get them written down. All right, so the video you just watched, fake video, it's from a TV show, it's not real. However, for this exit slip, I want you to pretend for just a second that that was a real president giving a real speech talking about a real solution to a problem. So based on that, this question's in two parts. If that was a real speech given by the real president, what do you think about his plan? What do you think about his solution to the problem that he presented? So first off, what do you think about his solution? And then secondly, how do you think the average person would react to that idea, to that plan, to that solution? So about 4 to 5 sentences for the whole thing, so just a couple sentences for each part of it. Once again, what do you think and feel about it? And then how do you think the average person thinks and feels about it? Whatever you guys have, make sure you get it jotted down. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, write something in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'll see you next time.